All right. A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to ERA Property Mega Show, Singapore's largest virtual real estate gallery. And happy Father's Day. If you are a father here today, please type in your name on the chat box so we can acknowledge you. All right. You see, from teaching us how to ride our first bikes to celebrating our life's little victories, our fathers have been the constant source of strength and support. As Billy Graham puts it, a good father is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and yet one of the most valuable assets in our society. This Father's Day, remember to show them your appreciation in a big way. To all fathers and fatherly figures, happy Father's Day from all of us at ERA. All right. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us today. It's great to see all your enthusiasm. Last year, our very own ERA Property Weekend garnered over 168,000 viewers and over 1.2 million impressions online. In other words, ERA Property Mega Show could be the most anticipated event in Singapore's real estate industry. In the span of 4 weekends this month, we are proud to feature our highly respected industry leaders to share with us their latest insights, as well as to showcase over 100 newly launched projects that will enhance and transform your online property shopping behavior. Bigger, better, and bolder than before, be entranced by this year's edition, which includes the industry trending headlines and back-to-back featured projects. For today, we will be bringing you the best of freehold wonders. And of course, behind every good father, there's a woman supporting him. And the next speaker today is our one such woman. Her husband, Eric Goh, is a successful top-term achiever in ERA for many consecutive years, and together, they are one of the most successful husband and wife teams in ERA. Without further ado, let's put our hands together for Executive Group Division Director Tracy Teoh to headline today's topic on Freehold Wonders, a legacy for generations. All right, hey Tracy, over to you.
Hi, thank you, John, for the very kind introduction. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tracy, and today we will be sharing with you about freehold wonders. So we'll look a lot more in depth into this topic called freehold wonders and why is it good that you probably want to consider buying a freehold property, and even though we might have to command a slight premium. So today our main aim is to really go more in depth into this topic itself. Right, so let's go next. So just some disclaimer before we start the whole webinar. So basically, this presentation is mainly for general information purpose. And should you have any questions or doubt, just feel free to contact any of our trusted ERA agents, and they will be more than happy to answer the question for you. Yeah. So without further ado, let's start our thing today. Should you buy a freehold property or a leasehold property? It's always this question, freehold or leasehold. So to be honest, a lot of time, when you are buying a property, it is a very common question that will pop up at a certain period of time. And especially when you are just about to commit, you will start to ask yourself, hey, should I buy a freehold or maybe a leasehold property is okay? So I think this is a question that is always in our mind, even for me when I purchase my property. And as a property real estate agent, right, we also often get questions like this. And before I even give you the answer, maybe just to warm up a little, warm you up and warm myself up, maybe you can type in the chat. If you are the freehold supporter, maybe you can just type 1 in the chat. Or if you are also fine with leasehold, you can type a 2, maybe just for sharing sake. We'll just take 2 minutes to do that. Oh, I have seen 1, I've seen 2. Yeah, 1, 2. Okay. Looks like a tie now. Well, to be honest, there is no right or wrong answer, because if you really plot the graph for freehold versus leasehold, actually both of them grow in tandem. Both of them do grow. As long as you put your money in property, I think over time they will all grow. But then again, for freehold properties, we will have certain properties itself, the freehold properties itself will also make a difference, especially if you are not sure what to buy. So I will always ask my client, why are you buying? I think the main thing is you need to know the reason of your purchase. All right, because when you know the reason of your purchase, you will know whether you are buying this for a long term or short term purpose, and whether you are buying it for capital appreciation, or you're just plain going to rent this property and for long term or short term, or is it for legacy planning, if you're planning to leave this property for your next generation. I think these are all very important questions that you need to know and you need to ask yourself, right? And with coupled with together what I'm going to share with you today, I think you will probably be able to make a better choice whether should you not pay the slight premium to buy freehold properties, right? So I think these questions are really very important. Although if I ask my client, they say, "Oh, everything I also want," but you do know that it is not such a perfect world. We still need to ask ourselves these questions in order to come up with a more, uh, in order to make a more so-called sound decision. Yeah. So today's aim, right? What is our aim today? Basically, we are looking into exploring the edge of freehold property as compared to leasehold 99. And we will also look into whether freehold property holds better value compared to leasehold 99. And the question that I keep saying, whether you should pay the premium to buy freehold properties. And towards the end, I will also do a comparison between the freehold resale and the new launch freehold property and what is their difference, right? So today, end of the session, I think all this answer will probably be, all these questions will probably be answered. So what does freehold property with what does a property with freehold tenure means? So basically the definition of freehold property. So freehold property, it means that you can own it for an infinite period of time, right? So meaning it's perpetual. So for leasehold property, you basically lease the property for a fixed number of years. When the lease expires, you will need to return, in Singapore's context, return the land back to the state. So usually for freehold, we always categorize them into two types, which is 99 years or 999 years. But for the benefit of studies today, I will actually lump this 999 years to be part of the freehold, so that it is easier, because anyway, 999 years, it will last us many generation. Yeah. So just for study sake, we will actually put them under freehold properties. Yeah. So having said that, although we say that freehold property, you own it for an infinite period, but there will also be a time where freehold property might have to be returned back to the state. And when will this happen? So this will happen if the government need that piece of land for redevelopment purpose, or they need it to build road or whatever, right? Then they will do a compensation back to you, and we will have to return it back to the state. So only on situation like this, then the freehold land will have to be returned back to the state. Other than that, it will still be for an indefinite time that you can hold this property for. All right, let's take a look at the supply of freehold versus leasehold 99 years in Singapore. Yeah. So everybody, most of you, I assume you should know that this demand versus supply concept and or theory. So when the supply is low, basically price will go up because there is no stock. Yeah. But when the supply increase, price usually will decrease because you have a lot of competition, you have a lot of choices. So bearing in mind this demand and supply theory, let's take a look at the supply of freehold property in Singapore. So basically, let's look at the new sales supply first, which is basically from en bloc or GLS. So leasehold property is about supply from 2017 to 2019. Basically, you can see that this blue part belongs to double nine leasehold property. So the difference, it's about 4 times that of the freehold supply for brand new. When I say new, I mean brand new supplier. So from 2017 to 2019, basically we only have 8,651 freehold properties in Singapore, units. Yeah. So hence, brand new freehold units is really very rare. Yeah, it's you probably there's only that many. Yeah. So let's take a look at the next transaction. So we actually also split them into a transaction for freehold versus leasehold based on the 2013 to 2020. You can see that the monthly average transaction per month, the volume for leasehold 99 is 1218, whereas freehold is 528. So basically freehold volume, right, is about 2.3 times lesser than the 99 years. But if you look at the new supply, we have about 4 times. But in terms of when it comes to the volume itself, the real transaction itself, it's only 2.3 times lesser. Yeah. So from there, we can also see that we can establish two things. Basically, supply for freehold is really very low. And secondly, I think the demand for the freehold is actually not, is actually higher than the supply. Yeah. So approximately 80% of Singapore land are leasehold. So there is really a very limited supply of freehold land in Singapore. Yeah. So typical location for freehold will majority will be in District 9, 10, 11, which is the Prime District, Orchard, Newton, Holland, River Valley, this area, Bukit Timah, and 15 will be in the eastern side of Singapore. This actually makes up the main bulk of the freehold condominiums. Of course, we still have smaller pockets in all the different districts, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 23. Yeah, of course, there are some districts where there is zero freehold properties in that district itself. We also have. Yeah. So having said that, we know that freehold property is really very rare. So recently I was serving a client, so they were asking me, will there be any more new government freehold land? Well, unfortunately, the answer is no. There will not be any freehold land from government available in the market, meaning there will not be GLS that is freehold. Not possible. Yeah. So all GLS, when you hear about GLS, it will definitely have to be a leasehold 99, which also means that new freehold plot will only be able to obtain through en bloc sales. Yeah. So meaning, just now you remember I told you 80% of the land approximately is leasehold, which makes that only about 20% are freehold. This 20% of the land will have to keep recycling because there is no more. We only have this 20%. That's all. Yeah. So after we have, now that we have established that the supply of freehold land is really very rare and it is scarce, although Singapore land is already scarce enough. So freehold land is even more rare. Yeah. Now let's take a look at the freehold property performance in terms of the dollar and cents. Yeah. So let's take a look whether freehold property, is it a better wealth accumulator when compared to leasehold 99 years over a long horizon. Yeah, so let's study this. Why do I say that we do it over a long horizon? Because we know that properties within the first 10 years or so, they actually behave quite similar. So meaning freehold or leasehold is quite similar. But that's why we want to study over a longer period of time, whether will they make a difference. So I've done a case study on extract this case study, which is a freehold versus leasehold 99 in the same vicinity over a substantial time period. This is to test the growth difference. So this case study, we actually make use of Spanish Village, which is actually located in Farrer Road, and also Holland Woods Court, which is 99 years, also just down the road. So one is 226 units completed in 1987, and Holland Woods is 27 units completed in 1978. Let's take a look at the numbers. So this is the location. They are actually just within walking distance. So if you're not sure, this is MRT is just now around this corner, right? So let's take a look at the numbers. So from 2005 to 2019, all right, we can see that Spanish Village have grown 211% in terms of growth, in terms of the PSF. Meaning when they first bought was $544 PSF, and in 2020 when they sold, it was 1,691. That's like a 200% growth, which is, I think, very, very good. Yeah. So for leasehold 99 Holland Wood, same thing, they also grow. All right. I really think that properties is a very good so-called tools to place your money in, because over time they all grow. But then look at this, in terms of at the same period, similar period of time, the Holland Woods Court actually grow about 166%, which is actually slightly, I not say slightly lah, quite a fair bit difference compared to the freehold Spanish Village. Yeah. So let's take a look further whether freehold property has a better wealth retention as compared to the leasehold 99 years, also over a long period horizon. Yeah, I'll show you more. So this case study, we'll look at the price disparity. So Willingville, it's a very popular location, very popular projects. And we have the Mera Saga. I personally really love Mera Saga. You know, this is one of my personal favorite. But let's take a look. Both of them are actually very near to Holland Village, the MRT, and also the whole Holland Village itself. So let's see. Willingville is 33 units, is completed in 1982, compared to Mera Saga is 116 units completed in 1995. So let's see what kind of figures they bring us. So take a look. For Willingville, in the year of 2000, it was sold at 819 PSF. And in March 2020, it was actually transacted at 1,755 PSF. So both of them have the MRT effect. Both of them enjoy the same kind of growth within the vicinity. But let's see, so what we want to compare really is whether the freehold property and the leasehold property, do they make a good difference? All right, so let's see. The Mera Saga, it was done in 2000, it was done at 852 PSF versus in the year of 2018, it was transacted at 1688. Yeah. So you can see that both of them increase of for Willingville, it actually increased 114% compared to Mera Saga. Over the similar period of time, it actually increased 98.12%. So let's take a look. 20 years ago, the freehold Willingville was 819, leasehold Mera Saga was 852. So the price disparity, in fact, the leasehold was higher. Yeah. Of course, we probably say it's newer, it's bigger size, you know. So the disparity was -4. In the most recent transaction, freehold is 1755, leasehold is 1688. The price disparity now, is a bit different. Now is +4. So basically the difference went up to be about 8% difference over the 20 years. So both of them increased, as we have already established at the beginning, both of them increased, but you can see that actually freehold property appreciate more with time. Yeah. So we have enough in the Holland area. I will move you down to a bit more outside, which is at along Upper Bukit Timah. So let's take a look at South Haven 1 and South Haven 2. So both of them are actually just side by side lah. One is 999 years and one is a 99 years. So South Haven 1 was built in 1997 and South Haven 2 was built in 1999. They are only 2 years apart, right? So let's study them. You can see for South Haven 1, it was actually transacted in the year 2000. We have 500 and there is transacted at 580 PSF. In August 2018, it was transacted at 852 PSF, which is a growth of 46.9%. Compared to the neighbors, South Haven 2, in May 2000, it was actually transacted at 681 PSF. And in 2018, because of its 999, it was actually transacted at 1248 PSF. And that is a 83.26% growth. So like I always establish, both of them, freehold or leasehold, they all grow in tandem. But you can see that although they are just 2 years difference, being a 999-year tenure, having a 999-year tenure, South Haven actually grow a lot more compared to South Haven 1. Yeah. So same thing, there's at least a 25% price disparity between the two of them. 20 years ago, it was about 17% difference. So again, we can establish the fact that freehold and 999 years property value appreciate more with time. Yeah. So I hope you are quite clear on this. I have done some case study in the core central area. We also done some in the Bukit Timah area, Upper Bukit Timah area. So they all behave quite similarly, especially when it is stretched over a long period of time. So now that we have established the performance of freehold development, let's take a look at the loan and CPF restriction. Whether is there any difference whether you buy freehold or you buy leasehold? Is there any restriction or difference? Let's take a look. So for bank loan, while most of the banks, they have their own restriction, they have in terms of the amount they loan you or how long they loan you. But as a general rule, as long as the remaining lease of a property is less than 20 years, basically the bank will not loan you anything. Yeah, which also means that buyer will have to pay full cash if the property is less than 20 years. So in such cases, right, it will be quite hard for you to sell the property when it hit the 20-year mark, because not everybody have the cash, first of all. Yeah. And of course, like I mentioned, most bank, they have different way of calculating. But if let's say, although we say 20 years, but in actual fact, if the property is now left with 40 years or 50 years of maybe let's say 40 years, right? And this particular buyer is able to get a 30-year loan because of his age. But because of the age of the property, we are left with 40 years. Some of the banks will need to keep a buffer of 20 or even 30 years. So end up, you can only loan for 20 or 10 years. And this will actually, what does it really means to you? It means that you probably have to pay higher in terms of your monthly mortgage, or you probably can take a shorter period of the loan tenure becomes shorter, and which also brings back to your monthly installment become higher. So I think if you are looking at buying such old properties, especially if they are leasehold, I will always urge my client that you need to check with the bank in terms of your loan to make sure that you don't get a shock of your life. Yeah. So let's take a look at the CPF ruling. So actually, prior to 10th May 2019, right? The CPF rule is such that if the property is have only remaining 30 years, basically you cannot use any CPF at all. Zero. Yeah. But I think, I do not know if you remember the big hoo-ha in 2019 where there is this is like a very strong effect on all the old properties, because it makes it very hard for them to sell. It makes it very hard for buyers to buy them, even though they might like it, because you cannot use your CPF, you don't have enough CPF to be usage, right? So the government actually relaxed the rule a little to help in terms of that. But you can see that now they have changed it to minimum 20 years. You need to have at least 20 years in order for the buyers to be able to use the CPF up to the valuation limit. And this is one criteria. The second criteria is the age of the youngest property plus the remaining lease of the property must be at least 95. So if the whole purpose is to make sure that the person staying there can last up to 95 years, basically that is the reason, which I think is a very good rule. But it also means that even if your property, if you are a young person and you really like a old property that and you want to purchase them, there might be some restriction in terms of your CPF usage. So I've done a case study, right, on usage of CPF for older 99 years leasehold property. So take a look on this. I actually use a case study where a 25-year-old is trying to buy a property with remaining lease of 56 years. So actually these figures, right, 1.65, the age of property are all real figures. Huh? So the property is built in, it's completed in 1978, which is now about the 43 years or 44 around. Then assuming we purchase it today, using the calculator, purchase price, assuming the value is the same, right? And the age of the property of the buyer is 25. He can only use the maximum up to 1.188 million CPF. Yeah. So it also means that you will actually have to pay more cash component. So for normal circumstances, right, it's only compulsory 5% cash, right? The rest actually, if it's your first property, you can use the remaining as your CPF or loan, you know, etc. But for this, because of the restriction, they will end up having to pay more cash for such properties. So it's very important that you take note of this. Well, but if you're buying a freehold property now, despite the age, it might be 50 years old, 60 years or 70 years old, even 80, 90 years old, you will not have this problem because you do not have a cap in terms of the age of the land. Yeah. So that is actually a very big plus. Of course, a lot of time it will not affect us, but it will affect our next generation, especially if you're passing it down to them. They might have a hard time selling the property if it is a 99 years and it is old. Yeah. So in this aspect, I think freehold property really have an edge over it. All right. So en bloc is something that a lot of people are very interested in. So let's study also a little bit about the effect of en bloc on freehold properties or en bloc together of freehold properties. So I have already established the fact that just now at the very beginning that freehold property is a limited edition, right? And I think a lot of you knows that when we hear limited edition, it will means that, oh, this is rare and the price is good. So take for example, even it is for limited edition watch, limited edition car, limited edition bags. You all know what it means, right? Everybody comes snatching for it because there's only that many available. Similarly, in the context of property, freehold actually have the same, freehold property also have the same kind of limited edition, how do you say, vibes or no. Yeah. So basically, we only have that 20% that keep recycling. So what does it really means? It just means that with every en bloc cycle, right, because it is rare, everybody start asking for higher price. And when your price property, the property price increase or the land price increase, it also brings up the value of your property. So you can see that every time we have an en bloc, the price keep higher and higher and higher. And because there is no basis on the land price, and with every en bloc, right, the so-called the developer always look back into what was the last done here. Not just the developer, even the seller themselves will also look at what was the last done price in terms of land for freehold in the same vicinity, and they will always call for higher. I think that is quite normal. Yeah. So you can see that with every en bloc cycle, as we continue on, it just get higher and higher. So I've done a very interesting so-called studies. Yeah. So you can see that my whole screen here is full of yellow. Yeah. So I've extracted from each prop the successful en bloc for 2016 to 2020. And I was actually quite surprised to see that 81% of them were all freehold site. All the one that I've shaded in yellow are all freehold or 999 years. And these are the ones that were successfully en bloc over a period of 5 years. Yeah. So it seems that freehold property is a very popular choice uh, with the developers when it comes to en bloc, right? So one of the possible reason is because in the en bloc of a freehold development, the developer actually do not need to top up the lease to make it to back to a new full 99 years. So this cost is actually eliminated from the freehold property en bloc. And also we have lesser competition because we do not have any supply from GLS. Well, only competition is really that 20%. Yeah. So that also could be a reason why developer are more interested to buy freehold for en bloc. Yeah. All right. So will all private properties be en bloc eventually? You know, every time when we want to buy a property, they will say, oh, one, they will tell you, you will go en bloc. Don't worry, you will go en bloc because at what year the people will always want to go for en bloc. As much as we hope that it's true, we do see that in the year of 2020, we have seen the first residential property being returned back to the state at the end of their lease. Yeah. So this come to the conclusion that en bloc or topping out of lease does not always happen for a property. So what it really means is if you are having a old leasehold property, when the property reach a certain age, right, and it doesn't go en bloc, you really do run into the risk that this property will have to be returned to the state at the end of their lease. Compared to freehold, although sometimes you might not, you have seen some properties going through en bloc cycle 2 times, 3 times, they tried 3 or 4 times. But then if it is a freehold plot of land, they have what I call the luxury of time. They can wait. Of course, more costs, whether is it leasehold or freehold, more costs will have to be put in to make good the house. But that is being equal. So unfortunately, we do see leasehold property being returned back to the state without any compensation. Yeah. So in this aspect, I think freehold properties do not have the time pressure to sell at a certain time due to the reducing lease. Yeah. And they also do not really run into the risk of failure to en bloc, and the land will have to be returned back to the state at the end of the lease period. And there's also no restriction on loan or CPF for freehold properties. And it seems like freehold property is a very popular choice among developers for en bloc. So with all this, right, I think if you are looking to hold a property, especially for long term, or if you are the type that I do not know what I want to do with the property, I just want to wait and see how long. So with freehold properties, right, it allow you to wait and see how long. Basically, that's it. Yeah. So this is actually a very strong point that a lot of times we do not really look into them when we compare freehold or leasehold. Yeah, but because we are always being painted a very beautiful picture that, oh, everything will get en bloc. Don't, it's okay, it's 99 years, it's fine. But you do have to, I do have to tell you that yes, they actually, this kind of risk actually is in the market. Yeah. All right. So I hope you absorb quite a fair bit now. So let's take a look at freehold launch versus resale launch. This is also a very common question, um, especially when we are serving our client. Then when they are about to buy, they say, hey, I think maybe I should purchase a resale freehold property because it's cheaper. Yeah, there's no wrong. It's not wrong. All right, it's not wrong. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to draw some so-called important points that you might have to look out for, right? So I've done a case study again. This time around, I'm bringing you back to the prime in Singapore, and I'm doing a comparison for Ardmore Park, Ardmore 2, and New Futura. So Ardmore Park and Ardmore 2 are the older properties. Ardmore Park actually TOP in 2001, and they have a total of 330 units. 2010 is the TOP date for Ardmore 2, and you have a total of 118 units. And New Futura was TOP in 2017, and total units 124. If you are familiar, you know that Ardmore area is always a very sought after location among the rich, right? So let's take a look at the figure. So you can see when the time when New Futura is being sold. Okay, New Futura is a bit special because they finish building and then they start selling. All right. So basically they don't sell pre-launch. Yeah. So they finish building, then they start to sell. So you can see at that point of time, right? There's quite a price differentiation between New Futura, Ardmore, and also Ardmore 2. Yeah. So if you have bought in 2018 New Futura, you would have gained a 21.77% increase from to today. Compared to Ardmore Park and Ardmore 2, if you have bought them, yes, you probably also make money. Yeah. But then you can see that it's only about 5.38%, although it's cheaper. So a lot of times we feel that it's actually able, I should buy the resale because it's cheaper. Not wrong, but you do have to understand that as the property grow older, the rate of increase actually become more stagnant, yeah, or slower. It will still increase, but it will be at a slower rate compared to the brand new one. Yeah. So let's take a look at another case study. Now I'm bringing you back all the way to the east side. We realize that we have not spoken much about the east. Let's take a look at the east side in District 15. So I'm doing a comparison between Seafront on Mayor, TOP 2010 and total units 327. The Mayor Rise, TOP in 2014, total units 239. So let's see. This is the point where we started selling Mayor Rise. And at that point of time, we also have a lot of buyers. Or to be honest, both projects, we are all involved. When Mayor Rise launched, actually a lot of buyers was also considering Seafront. This is already a resale back then. So if you have bought Mayor Rise and if you have bought Seafront, actually over time, they grow about the same percentage. But what I want to draw your attention to is this. In 2014, that is where Mayor Rise was obtained its TOP. So you can see that there's actually a very strong growth of 18.32%. You will have been able to realize this profit if you have bought Mayor Rise at the beginning of the launch. Yeah. And if you realize that at the supporting price for Mayor Rise is around the 1,800 mark, which is the selling price, you can see that most of the transaction thereafter are all above this support point. Versus if you have bought Seafront and Mayor at that point of time, you can see that although they grow in the long run, but take a look at this. I want to draw your reference to this circle part that I've shown you. It means that actually there, after you have bought, there are still many transactions that happen thereafter, but at a lower price compared to what you have bought. Yeah. So it is a very simple concept, because for seafront or Mayor, there are many people who actually have purchased it at even the 1,004 something, 1,005 something mark, which means that they can actually sell lower than whatever that you purchase at the same point of time, at meaning a resale. So when you're buying a new launch, most of the time at the entry price, when you are at the first batch, not resale, you basically enjoy a better price support, and everybody will want to sell above this support price, compared to if you buy a resale, you do run into the risk that people can actually sell lower and still make a profit. Yeah. Then they sell lower than your purchase price, but yet they can still make a profit. Yeah. So this is something that I want to draw your attention to. Yeah. So this is the comparison between freehold brand new and freehold resale. This is also similar, whether is it freehold or leasehold. So let's take a look at the current supply of freehold land, freehold launches. Okay, this is a very nice graph and an easy graph for you all to take a look. So you can see that actually we have quite a number of freehold properties that's available in the market now, that is available for sale. So take a look at this. To be honest, I think this is really a best time to buy freehold properties. Why do I say that? Because if you are in the market long enough, you do realize that a lot of our freehold properties, right, they are all in the more atas, but not as convenient location, meaning they are not so near to the MRT. Yeah, like places in Katong or in Mayor Rise, or these are all very good location, but then they are not so near to public transport, because I think government feel that if you can afford this, you probably drive lah. Yeah, so you can see, but because of the extension of the MRT network, right, now freehold properties are all within walking distance to MRT. And that's why I think it is a very, very good opportunity for you to look into them. Just for information's sake, if you remember Circle Line, right, there's a study done by NUS, that the property price of those property that is within around the 400 meters radius of the MRT station actually grew about 13.2% when the station become operational, right? Operational means it's really in use. So you can see that actually I do see quite a number of opportunity, especially here, and even like Katong Park, Tanjong Katong, Amber Park, Coastline, all these properties, there's no MRT in the past at all, and this is upcoming. So this is what I always call the MRT effect. Yeah. And also same thing even in Orchard, right? In Orchard, we only have like MRT station in Orchard MRT itself. But then again, if you realize now, it's also extended up to the western side of Orchard, which is the Boulevard area, and also the what I call a Great World area. These are all new MRT station that is upcoming, and we really have quite a number of stocks there that is really next to the MRT. Yeah. So these are all the list that of properties that is actually near to the MRT station that you can actually consider. You actually have the best of both worlds, convenience and good tenure, right? Okay. So let me just do a quick conclusion. So pros of a freehold property, basically it's scarcity. It is scarce. We only have that 20% demand versus supply. Very simple. You only have this 20% that keep coming into the market, recycling. Yeah. And freehold properties can only be available in the market via en bloc, which also usually not always means it's higher in terms of price lah. You can get higher. And they are not pressured by time factor when the property age. you will not have an issue with loan or CPF usage as the property grow older. It's a great tool for wealth accumulation and retention if you are planning to hold for a longer period for the use of legacy planning, meaning passed down to your next generation. And it seems to be a popular choice for en bloc for developers. Yeah. So just to have a quick conclusion, to me, freehold wonders or freehold property means that you are free to hold at ease. So if you are not sure whether to buy freehold or leasehold, ask yourself, do you need to hold this property at ease? Meaning you don't have to be pressured to sell at a certain point of time. If the answer is yes, then I think probably freehold properties will work for you. Yeah. So that brings me to the end of my presentation today. Thank you very much. Let me see. Do we have time for a quick questions? All right. Okay, we have a question here. So what are the properties that you will recommend buying now for freehold properties? So, okay, I think that question is very good. Basically, if you ask me, I think you can really look into probably those property where the MRT is announced but not up yet, or you know that there's future MRT coming out and they are freehold land. So I think these are very good properties that you can really consider and look into them. Yeah. So for me, I'll probably put my money there also. Yeah. So okay, I think our time is almost up. So let's pass it back to John. Thank you so much for all your time today. I really hope you guys learned something, or I'm able to bring some insight to you on this Sunday morning. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.